This is the podcast reflection for PD504 Design Technologies. I'm Zoe.
I'm Riley.
I'm Christian.
So today we're going to be talking about kind of the Industrial Revolutions and its impact on designers specifically. So we're going to start off by talking about the Industrial Revolutions and its impact on designers. So the first revolution was obviously like mechanization. It's like printing press, steam engine, and its huge focus was on making things a lot more safer for a lot of workers, and then also making things a lot more convenient. So like artisans wouldn't have to create each individual product.
So the first industrial revolution was all about the printing press and making things easier to be manufactured and such. And then each industrial revolution just kind of, as it went along, was doing more that kind of thing, where taking workers out of the factory lines, making them more automated, making them more safe, which was, that increased profits and such. And also just like getting products out there and making it more efficient to make them. So the first one was like the printing press, then it was like car lines. Stuff like
It was
that.
like the steam engine, right?
Yeah, I think initially it was more focused on like getting the workers out the front line, but then over time it kind of around the third one, I think it kind of developed into like a blend of, how would I put it? It became like a blend of not a case of taking the workers out because they know how to do that now, but more so making things efficient.
Yeah.
And being able to mass produce a lot more, cut costing, and obviously just become more efficient overall.
Yeah, and the third revolution is focused on introducing automation into manufacturing, right? And now we're looking into, obviously, like the internet as the most recent revolution of the fourth revolution, right?
Yeah.
The Internet of Things, cybersecurity.
Wireless communication.
Yeah, I guess AI also ties into that because I don't think we've technically gone into the fifth revolution yet, you know?
And plus, it wasn't made in the fifth revolution; it was made in the fourth.
Because we're still in the fourth revolution right now.
It's developing.
Do you guys have any predictions for the fifth revolution?
Riley?
Okay, I'll go first.
Yeah, go
Yeah,
for it.
I'm pretty sure most of it will be like everything is automated, like everything. Anything you can think of that can be like, well, manufacturing, obviously, it will be AI automatically making a thing and then automatically delivering out, automatically implementing it. Like, let's say you wanted a new TV. An AI, you send that request out, or even like your TV broke, the AI automatically sends that request out. Like a robot comes to your house and just makes it. I'm expecting like everything to be completely out of our control. And if I was going to be hopeful about it, then it would be like, oh yeah, AI does all the boring things and we're left to do the creative arts, explore our passions, improve the earth again using AI. But if I'm going to be realistic, it's probably going to be more of like AI using as much of the Earth's resources as it can to continually expand until, that thing.
Yeah, but one thing I feel like with environment-wise that a lot of people, I think, haven't really taken like a close look as, like, obviously we are damaging the planet.
Yeah.
With like a lot of the manufacturing processes that occur.
Yeah.
But compared to some of the older practices in like 70s, 80s,
Oh, it's a lot better.
Yeah.
we've
Yeah.
steadily began to like decline the littlest bit, you
like
know?
we're not using massive steam
So,
factories anymore.
It
Yeah.
isn't like we're terrible, but obviously it's the lesser of evil, I guess.
I think
you
the
know?
key to like the fifth revolution is literally AI. I think that is the complete key to all of it.
Yeah.
I hate that. I think you're right because I don't want AI to be the future.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
me
think it's
too.
the complete key, and I think the danger, which we're about to go on to, is like the topic of ethics with AI or whatever. I think the issue is just who has access to what standard of AI. Because of course we all know ChatGPT, but there's going to be other forms of AI. There's going to be ones that potentially the governments use or like big industries use that we would not have access to, that may be more efficient, may come up with new ways, or just overall have a higher standard of performance. And it's just a bit... It's exciting in some ways, and it's also concerning because there's like a company at the moment that... from AI and from a bit of like personal research of whatever they've done from their company, because it's older than like the modern versions of AI. They've developed like a way of mining minerals with plants and stuff like
yeah, I
that.
heard
Yeah,
about
and
that.
they like make jewelry out of it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's what I was looking at for the start of my other project when I was doing the ring. And I think if it's applied in ways like that, then yeah, fantastic. But then if it's applied in ways like yesterday when we were talking and you were saying about with companies using it to make cuts with people or like costs cuts, things like that, which is great to make costing cuts, but at the expense of a human or humans' well-being or humans' like life, it's not really.
I think also specifically with AI, a lot of the jobs that they're cutting are more like artistic jobs.
Yeah.
Like you guys have seen that Coca-Cola ad of it being AI.
Yeah.
And then also recently in Pantone's release of The Color of the Year, their release video was also completely
Yeah, I remember
AI.
you showing me.
Oh.
So it is taking a lot of like artistic jobs, which I feel like isn't what AI should be doing for us. There's like that very popular quote on the internet that's like, I want my AI to do laundry and taxes so I can do art and dance. I don't want
Oh yeah.
AI to do
Yeah.
art and dance. Well, I can get to do like my laundry and
Yeah.
taxes.
It's true though, is what you're saying. Like I was just thinking just then, obviously, like one of my favorite artists has just brought out his new album, and in one of the songs that he released just before bringing out the album, he dropped a video for it, and about halfway through, his face is like forming into different versions of himself, and it's completely used AI, and that's like someone who's arguably for the last 5 years been a top 3 or 4 artist in the whole world. So it's like if they're using it, then like
The thing is, it's upsetting because it's lots of these larger companies where I feel like I understand like small businesses don't have the money for those costs to pay out those artists. But large corporations like Coca-Cola, Pantone, large artists, they have the disposable income to pay those extra artists and further like help the economy in that sense.
Do you think then going forward it is like the government's responsibility to make laws with the use of AI in terms of like, let's say for business, in a business sense, for example, if you exceed a certain amount of revenue a year, you can't replace the workers that you have with AI. Whereas if you are a company that makes like a scratch of what they make, you're entitled to use it more, but within reason.
The thing is, I feel like by putting a cap on AI, like as like a engineer, people who are developing this type of software, it's kind of saying like, we're going to stop our progress as humanity to stop furthering progress in technology and stuff because we just don't want to see the consequences of this. Where it is kind of the balancing act of like, well, this could help like a lot of people and be really interesting, but could also damage some things. Or should we just stop it at all and remain where we are in the like technological standpoint of progression, right?
I think that is one of the issues, trying to find that balance, because as humans, we're always trying to achieve more, try and get more efficiency, more perfection, and make lives easier for everyone, especially as we're all designers and trying to make products that help people in some way. But the current direction that we're going in, it's all about AI. And we have to like talk to ourselves, like, is this the way we want to go? Is there not any other way? Or are we just kind of stuck on this place? Because there are amazing possibilities with it, as we've seen. Like with the plant and the mineral thing. But there's also so many terrible things that come from it. Like it is damaging the environment from like water costs, electronic damage just being chucked into the ocean, damaging like our children and their education and human empathy. But there's also progress that we need to think about. So it's like a really tough balance of what do we want to sacrifice, progress or humanity.
And I think that's where, like, for example, going back to like laws, for example, I completely agree with what Zoe was saying, where like laws would be great in a normal sense, but this technically is something that's potentially going to shape the next 100 years of life. Do you know what I mean? Until they make some sort of supercomputer that just does everything. But going back to like what you were saying with the ethics, I think the ethics is essentially the most important thing. And if we go back to like that film you were talking about, for example, in all the films we've ever watched about like robots or robots taking over in some sense, what's the thing a robot always lacks? It lacks empathy. It lacks understanding. And I think that's the most key thing about this all, is understanding that we're not robots and that we need to have the empathy and understanding for the industry.
So final reflections over PD 504 design technology is personally for me, I think stuff that went really well was a lot of the prototyping for this and learning specifically about the components and interactions. I had a pretty good time doing it. I know you guys were not as lucky with ChatGPT as I was. But I feel like it was really helpful for me in that sense. I mean, I was able to like get through it, and I feel like I learned a lot about the breadboard specific interactions and components, especially a lot more than we did in like last year with at least the design engineering ones. I feel like we weren't able to go as in depth as we did in this module.
Yeah, we were just making the circuits.
Yeah.
And then be like, this is what they do. And then that was it.
I think stuff that was a little bit more difficult for me was with the wireless connection specifically. I wish we could have talked about it a little bit more because it is such something that's so versatile in our stuff, and I would love to like be able to implement this into more projects and like having the knowledge of it. I think since we have to go through so much information in this module, obviously we're not able to get through all of it, but it was something that I struggled with, I think, especially the limitations of having like an Android phone or not, you know, to be able to test your code, I think was really difficult for a lot of people in the class.
Yeah, because apart from me, only
No,
Pablo had an
yeah.
Android phone. There was
So-
only 2 Android phones, and I was running around the classroom
Yeah.
helping people.
Yeah.
I think in the future, knowing all of these things about how to use the like simple interactions to make complex projects, I would love to like implement this into like some of our current projects that we're doing even, you know, stuff with like your light
Yeah, like,
for
I'm trying
the
to
other
do that at
thing,
the
you know,
moment, yeah.
including the LEDs, stuff like that. I feel like it's so useful, you know. So I would like to put that into like future projects that I develop, or even just like in my spare time, being able to create things with these. My sister, she's like, I don't know if you guys watched iCarly as a kid, but in one of the episodes, they had this like audio sensor lamp or something, and the whole joke of the entire thing was being like, you have to. It's like it's a specific German lamp, so it only understands. So you have to go like into the lamp for it to turn on.
Yeah.
And as like a kid, me and my sister thought that was the craziest, coolest thing ever. Being like, how does it recognize the sounds? And now knowing, like, we made our own kind of like clock controlled light. How's like, I guess in our heads, pretty simple it was to
Yeah.
create.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, it actually isn't like that difficult to
difficult.
do at all. You know, this is something that's like so achievable
Yeah.
with like now the basis of knowledge that we've
Yeah.
gotten. That's kind of how I personally have taken what I've taken away from this module.
Yeah, me personally, it kind of sucks for me because I didn't really learn much. Like, I already had the experience with circuits. I knew how it worked for the most part.
Rose thorn bud. Start with the rose.
I am going to. I was going to go, but
Okay.
I enjoyed the practical side of the module. Making the circuits was a big, like, enjoyable thing for me because I enjoy doing circuits. It's really fun. I didn't work on the prototype much, but when we were doing like the color mixing lamp and then having it work and just testing it, that was so enjoyable for me. And then putting it, like writing about how it worked, what the use cases was for it. Having all these different projects that we worked on, like mini things, and then talking about it, that was the highlight for me. Because even though I didn't learn much, it was just fun to apply what I knew.
Well, technically, you were learning though. You just learned in a practical sense rather than
I knew
a
these
theoretical
circuits. I was
sense.
learning the circuits,
Yeah.
but I just kind of like already knew how to do them. But that's fine. It was fun. So thumbs up. I think one of the things that I didn't enjoy, especially in the beginning when I didn't understand what the module was about, I was really nervous in the beginning that it was going to be entirely AI, and I was incredibly adverse about that, and I would complain about it because it's like, oh, this whole thing is going to be AI. He wants us to do everything with AI.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would complain every lecture because it
Yeah.
just freaked me out. And now that I understand more about what Pablo wants us to do with it, I'm not as adverse. Like, oh, we're just using it for the code because we don't know how to code, and that's fine. But in the beginning, it just really worried me because I was worried, like, oh, we're learning how to replace ourselves.
Yeah.
And that was not a fun time for me. But going forward, I did learn that, like, AI, it isn't some completely terrible thing to be afraid of. It actually has use cases which doesn't steal jobs. It does still kind of ruin the planet a little bit. But, you know, it's useful in a way that isn't hurting people. So that's what I'm taking from it going forward, is you can use it without, like, I don't know, being morally bankrupt or whatever.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I was pretty similar to you at the start, to be fair. And I remember one lecture actually specifically, where I walked out and I was I didn't walk out, but like when we finished and we left, I actually felt like really like stressed out because of like the influence of AI and stuff. And I felt the exact same, how I felt like, oh, maybe it's going to like replace us. And I was like, oh, where's our place in the world? Like, is there any need for us if there's AI in place? But then the more we went through the module, the more I understood about it, and the more I understood the capabilities and the necessity of human interaction and AI. I learned that AI can't thrive or survive on its own. It can't develop on its own. Right now, anyways. It could develop to be like a self, and it might just be also a case of like the one we have access to. I don't know about like the upper echelons of AI. I don't know. But the ones that we've been using, so like ChatGPT, for example, it will learn from itself, but it will learn from itself through interactions. It's not like it just decides one day, oh, I want to learn about this, and this. Like a person has to interact with it for it to learn. The same way as it's then teaching us. So in a way, I kind of discovered that AI was like a really, really great learning tool. As long as it's applied in the right way. I also discovered about how AI, like we were saying earlier in the podcast, that like it has essentially like its own language and like keywords, the same way as how we put in like Google searches, which I found really cool. And in school, I never really did like anything to do with like circuits or anything like that. I probably did it like a few times in year 7, but like in school, I didn't really.
Hang on, I got a cough.
I do as well.
Yeah, go on.
Sorry. I'm so sorry.
So convenient.
I'm sorry.
No, but like in school, for example, I'm not going to sit here and say I was an 8th grade student, because I really was not.
No.
But my mum calling me. But
you hang up on your mum?
no, she just ended it.
Oh.
She does it because she knows like I won't like answer sometimes. Like if she used to call me when I was in the gym, and I'll be mid set and I'll be like, Mum, yeah. So like she does like a little thing where she like calls once, just to like let me know that she's tried to call. So I'll call her back in a minute. But going back onto track.
Yeah. Sorry.
Essentially, what I've learned is So essentially, going into this and like the module last year, I'm completely new to circuits, like.
Same.
Like the way it works, the direction, like everything moves in, like how the LEDs are lit up, how like the servo motor works, the stepper motor, like even the intricacies of the small separate parts as well. Like I find that really interesting. For me, the positives were learning about the new softwares, going deeper into like the hardware and like smart products in general and how they influence our lives, learning a lot more about AI. Kind of learning not to be afraid of AI, but to appreciate the capabilities and to understand what good it can do, but also what bad it can do. I think this module's really made me understand the capabilities of AI more than anything. It's made me understand the simplicity as well to electronics now, especially from our position, because we don't have to like hardwire anything or like code anything really. Like we've used ChatGPT to code stuff, but like in all seriousness, we're not cybersecurity and stuff, so. Or like coding. I think going forward though, like I'm trying to apply stuff we've learned from this module into my other module. I'm finding it quite difficult though, because like what we were saying about ChatGPT, I don't get why, but every time I try to do it, it just gives me false codes. I put in the error code and I say, could you correct this? I don't know if I just don't know the language well enough or whatever, but
to be fair, I've had like issues with ChatGPT doing that, and sometimes I just go, that code doesn't work, redo it. And then they redo it for me, and I'm like, and then it'll work instead.
Maybe it just likes you.
Yeah.
Or if there's error codes on the ChatGPT, like on the Arduino,
Yeah,
I'll
like
copy the error code, put it in there,
do.
like, fix this. And like, and ChatGPT will be like, you're right, this is something that's
yeah,
wrong.
yeah, yeah.
And
I
I'm
do,
like,
I do that, and it
"Thank you
just
You could just
spits out
try
the wrong
different
code again. So it's
There's
just
lots of models you can use.
yeah. It's just I think AI is great. I've probably still got to do a little bit of work with it, but yeah, I think the actual like electronics and stuff was really, really fun, really interesting. I really liked how like interactive it was.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was, how hands-on it was. I really enjoyed
Yeah.
that. And I think going forward, I will well, I've already tried to apply it to my other project, like I've said. Because I feel like unless I don't apply things like that or do things like that, I won't learn.
Mhm.
So I think that's the best way for me to do it. And yeah, that's kind of it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for listening to the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Oh my
Thank you
gosh,
for listening
like
in to
and
the Magic AI
subscribe.
podcast.
Oh my god, dude. No, I'm joking.
Anyway, thank you so much,
Yeah.
Pablo.
Yeah, hi
Thanks,
Thanks,
Pablo.
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 Hi bestie.